Rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. Living in
That is such a valuable piece of advice there.
These are the sorts of things that we should talk about right in the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Started giving people free quotes.
In sunshine and rainbows, it is
Definitely a thing for just being a solo
The
operator.
change in mindset makes a massive difference.
Welcome to Aussie Lawnstars.
So, Cass, let's get stuck into this second segment. And I want to look at business ideology. And one of those things we've just been having a quick chat about is in terms of profit. And you mentioned that you've been listening to the Profitable Tradie podcast.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's helped in the past couple of weeks because we got stuck in the first few months, and when you're new, you don't really break everything down. So it got to a point where I started breaking everything down,
Yeah.
and you'd realize, oh crap, I'm spending more money in fuel, or I actually don't make anything out of that job, so it's not feasible at all.
So you don't mean breaking down your equipment, you mean breaking down your numbers and knowing whether you're profitable.
Yeah. Although I've had a few bits of equipment go this week, so
Oh, that's no good.
no.
Well, that's part of the game, but yeah, it's not good when it happens.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I got one of those self-feeding husky snippers, and I tapped it on the concrete, and the head just burst. So it's now squishy, and you can see the spring. So I've had to fix that. But it's just little bits like that you don't take into consideration.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things where breaking down your numbers and actually being aware of what it costs to run your business, what your expenses look like. And that will take time because your first season is sort of your proving ground for working out what your expense ratio is going to be and then making adjustments to that.
Yeah, so we've started making adjustments, and then we realised maybe that was a bit too much. So we've reined it in. Yep. But if you find that happy medium, it's really everything sort of goes very smoothly, but it is just finding that happy medium and still profiting stuff. Because I think at one point before I bought the zero turner, I was out of pocket for the week, and I was like, oh no, oh boy, like shit. So once you break it all down, you've got to be on top of it all.
You've got to be really careful with that because it's very easy to spend money that you don't need to spend.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And then go backwards real quick.
Yeah. So there was a few weeks there where we weren't going backwards, but the work quietened down, and I was traveling too far for so little.
Yeah.
So you get hit with that, and you're like, okay, time to switch this car around, go closer to home, and then you sort of figure it all out and find your feet. But that's one of those moments where you get hit by a bus and you're like, got to fix it, got to get back up and keep running.
Well, this is interesting. Now, I'm going to ask you questions here. If you don't have answers or you don't want to answer, that's fine.
Yep.
But in terms of numbers and breaking them down, I talk to people about how much they need to earn to be profitable.
Yeah.
And I say, well, that hourly rate is really a number you don't want to die on that hill.
Yeah. The hourly rate is very difficult.
Well, it's different for different jobs and it's different for different business structures. So I talk to people about comparing your hourly rate to your day rate. So if you say that you charge $100 an hour, which in our industry at the moment, that's a middle number. If you say you charge $100 an hour and you're going, okay, that's what I'm working at, but you end up taking about $400 a day, then you're not actually doing $100 an hour over the course of the day.
Yeah. So it was sort of, even with that too, like I would give people a day rate, and then later on I'd break it down, and I'm like, Cass, that's not your day rate. Like, what are you doing? Like, you've just basically worked for free.
Yeah, which is why then you go, all right, the hourly rate and the day rate aren't enough on their own. You need to look at how much do I need to make a week? How much do I need to make a year? And if you say to yourself, okay, I need to be turning over $120,000 a year, which is a number I just go to that number because it's easy to round out across the year, right? If I need to do $120,000 turnover in a year to make sure that I've got enough money for myself after I pay all my expenses, then that means I need to do $10,000 a month.
Yeah, exactly. So
and
yes.
yeah, I guess, have you been watching your business over the last 6 months? And I don't expect you're going to be where you want to be. So
Yeah.
again, like, tell me as much or as little as you want to do. But have you been watching
Yeah.
it going, okay, am I where I want to be? And you're saying what you just said before, your day rate, you looked at it and you went, that's not profitable.
Yeah. So I'm on track to earn, I reckon if I keep going the way I'm going in terms of busyness and everything, I'm on track to pass that 120 mark at the
Yeah,
end of this
nice.
year, which is pretty damn good considering I was just in an admin job that was paying minimum wage. So, yeah, it's sort of breaking down everything and like everything like that. It's just, you have to look into everything to make sure that you're doing okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was about 3 months that I just wasn't checking and I had no idea what I brought in, had no idea what came out. And it's like, oh, and that comes in terms of invoicing too. Like, I wasn't looking at invoices and I look back and I'm like, Cass, you're missing 5 invoices. Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah, I think administrative tasks are really important to be on top of like that. But
Yeah.
I think that the one thing worse than not checking and looking at those things is to be looking for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of that, thinking that what I was doing was good and then having other people say nowhere near. You need to be in a different ballpark.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And I mean, coming up to the first, doing taxes for the first time, especially when you start a business, no one talks about how much you have to put away for tax and everything like that. And then that stings you because you've got to take that out of the end of jobs. And
Yes.
I've had to register for GST this year.
Yeah.
So we also figured out with my hourly, there were some jobs that I was doing that I was only making $20, but I'd be using $50 in fuel from like Warragul to Pakenham. So it's been such a big learning thing, but yeah, it's
That
been
is a
good
big
once you
learning
figure it
curve.
out. Yeah.
Oh, it's great that you've been analysing it, and the profitable tradie, I'm sure, does this to some degree. The profit first for tradies is the podcast I've been telling people
Yeah,
about.
right.
Same sort of thing, but profit first model is it's a model of making sure you pay a profit from every job to yourself and making sure that you put money into those different bank accounts, one for tax and one for other expenses, and, potentially separate bank accounts or separate envelopes for different types of expenses. So if you have a fuel expense that's out of control, there's one very easy way to monitor that, and that is to have a bank account that is just for your fuel expenses. So every time you get paid, you put money in there, and if you're spending more than you're putting in there, that's good cause to review it.
Yeah. So it's really just about analysing everything and really watching everything like a hawk.
When we talk about small pocket finance like that, where you have separate bank accounts or separate pockets that you put money into, a lot of people dismiss it and go, well, I can just have all my money in one place. And I've done that. And I know full well when I've done that, if I've got $5,000 in the bank, there's enough money there to go and buy a new computer or a new phone or something. And it's a business expense, of course, right? So it's not a problem. But then I've got no money to pay my tax or no money to buy that new zero turn when the other one dies or whatever it is. So once you start putting money into separate pockets, you start analysing it more and start going, okay, how much
exactly
money
right.
am I putting money aside for new equipment?
Yeah, that's a big thing, especially this week with the snipper. Like, I really want to upgrade my snipper to one of the Husky 525s.
Yeah.
That's my next thing. I got my eye on one of them. But it's like, if you're not analysing, you can't just go out and buy it, So, yeah, it's really tough, but you'll wrap your head around it in the end. So,
and I'm in that position at the moment where I've spent a lot of money over the last 2 months with all the travel that I've been doing, and that travel's been work related. Even the trip to Cape York is work related for the podcast. But I've been sitting there going, I've spent a lot of money and I need to rein it in and then make sure that I can afford to do those things that are needing to be done. And I've got those separate bank accounts there so that I know what I'm doing. But I'm looking at buying. I'm just trying to think what it is. There's a couple of things I need to buy at the moment in terms of equipment.
Yep.
Not a whippersnipper. I've got too many. But I'm looking at a battery-powered backpack blower and another chainsaw, and then there's a couple of other bits and pieces. And I need to replace the computer that I'm using right now for podcasting.
Yeah. It all adds up very quickly, very, very quickly.
And I need to make sure that buying those items that I just mentioned, which, there's potentially $5,000 to $10,000 worth of items that I've just listed there.
Yeah.
If I'm buying them, I'm not leaving myself short in case I have an emergency with something dying.
Yeah, exactly. Or even like working for yourself. People don't tell you that work cover or super, like if I come off a ladder, there's got to be enough wages put aside for me to recover.
Yeah.
But if it happens like out of the blue and you're not analysing anything and all of a sudden you've got to have 6 weeks off and you don't have 6 weeks of wages, it's like, oh boy.
Yep, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Then you got to look at insurance. Do I have workers' comp that covers myself?
Yeah.
And if you're a sole trader, you can't.
Yeah.
Do I have an alternative to workers' compensation? So personal income protection or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's just all these things that you just have no idea about until you hit with it.
Yeah, I just had a public liability insurance claim that I had to pay out this week, and that was through insurance. But still, that's there.
Yeah,
cost.
Yeah, that's another thing is public liability insurance, and we've got my trailer's insured and everything, but what happens if it gets nicked? You need to have the money to be able to replace everything, but you never know.
Well, I think insurance can cover you so you don't have to have the money there to replace everything, but insurance is still pretty limited.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like you've put a lot of effort into getting your head around those things in the first 6 months of your business. For as young as you are, you've done really well.
It's definitely been a whole thing. But I mean, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it because I just don't want to go into another crappy admin job with a mean boss. So just trying to. I mean, I've never been really, not smart, but or maths or numbers. I've never been that way inclined. So it's all been a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, fair enough. And I think even like anybody in this industry, a lot of these things are going to be trial and error.
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
matter
exactly
how smart
right.
you are.
Yeah.
Some people aren't smart enough to actually work through those things, but that's when you can find somebody to help you. So if you find a good accountant or a mentor or somebody that can actually help you work through things, it can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's definitely been a massive help. As my uncle used to run Jim's franchise, but he's gone out on his own now, so he's been a massive help in terms of helping me find my feet and quoting and doing all that sort of stuff. So I definitely have people to lean back on.
That's
and
awesome.
Even LMCA has been unreal.
Yeah. Look, LMCA has, and there's more than just LMCA. There's a couple of groups there for Australia, but they both are absolutely awesome for new businesses starting out to use as a resource.
That's exactly right. I definitely fell back on LMCA like hugely, especially you put a post up being like, oh, what would you charge for this? And everyone just gives you a price, but also gives you an explanation and different things that you have to take into consideration, like tip fees and that. It's a massive help. I
was at the Ellie show in Sydney this weekend, just gone, and met up with Anthony Moore, the admin for LMCA.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And he was at the show, and they had the LMCA merch store repping at the show.
Yeah.
So it was good to see that there. And I thought about it afterwards, and I'm thinking, you know what? The guys, Anthony and Jared, they put in a lot of time to admin the group.
Yeah.
And they do it for little to no reward. So when they have the merch store there and a couple of other discount codes you can use from LMCA, it's like if we as group members utilize those things, it helps the admin to get a little bit of reward for the hard work they do.
Yeah, exactly. And there would be a lot of work that goes into LMCA.
Look, I've been an admin for a local community group. I actually started the group years ago.
Yeah.
And that group has grown to like 14 or 15,000 members. And
yeah, right.
when I first started the group, and I was adminning the group with myself and one friend, and very quickly it's like, I'm tired of this. It's not just annoying, it's frustrating, and it takes up a lot of effort and time.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of appreciation for what it takes to admin a group like that. And
Yes.
lawn mowing contractors are not easy people to get along.
Yeah. You gotta. Sometimes you just gotta look at the humor side of it, have a laugh.
Definitely, I would encourage anybody to not let the things said in the group get under their skin.
Yes, yeah. But I mean, like I was telling you the other day about, I put up a post asking how to kill an agapanther, and all I got was pictures of excavators and sticks of dynamite. So I was like, oh, thank you. But you really just got to have a laugh.
Yeah, and agapanthers are those things which we were saying when we were talking, like you can spray them with Roundup and it'll kill everything around them, but the agapanthers will keep growing.
Exactly, yeah. And if you don't laugh, you'll cry. So you really just got to,
You could always learn to love them, but I don't think I know anyone who loves agapanthers.
Yeah, I will not fall in that category of loving them. I hate them with a passion.
Well, they've got a very strong hold in the gardens that I look after, so I've got to learn to love that part of the garden.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, they're a doozy.
Yeah, definitely. But you'll find people in the group are always going to have some comedic answers when it comes to questions.
Yeah. But maybe sometimes it's what you need. You need to have a laugh sometimes.
Well, most questions have been asked in the group a lot of times already. So when they see something come up like agapanthers.
I've figured out the search in the chat, so I'll refrain from asking those questions now because I'll just search it up and find the 50 other posts about it.
Look, don't be afraid to ask questions though.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, even if the question's been asked before, there will be somebody who is you 6 months ago, fresh in the group, looking for those sorts of things. And if they see you willing to put your hand up and ask us a silly question, then they're more inclined to go, all right, that's a good group for participating in.
Yeah. It's definitely helped so much. Even in terms of first establishing in my hourly, and then you realize there's different people charging different things. So I feel bad for charging one thing, and then someone else has gone through the roof, and it's like, oh wow, I had struggled with knowing my worth at the start of it and actually charging for that. But LMCA definitely helps you see that you actually can sort of get paid for your time and what you're worth.
This is why like I said before, I really encourage people to break that number down from hourly to daily, weekly, monthly, yearly rates and look at it from different perspectives, because what I charge per hour is probably less than what you charge per hour, but what we make in a day could be the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And the reason being is if you're traveling for an hour to do an hour's work, I'm in one place for the whole day.
Yeah.
So I don't have to charge for travel.
Yeah.
So there's factors like that which you have to look across your whole business to work out how you charge. And go back to the magic numbers I mentioned earlier. If you say $100 an hour is what a gardening business needs to charge in Australia in this industry to make money today, that's wrong. Yeah. It's going to be right for one person and wrong for another person.
That's exactly right.
So you've got to look across the board and look at what you need so that when you finish the day, you have money in the bank and you're not sitting there just running your expenses and running yourself into the ground for nothing.
Yeah.
I know that the travel makes a massive difference, and the interview I've just done before yours, He travels 1.6 kilometres from his home in any direction, and that's his limits on how far he travels for all of his 150, almost 160 customers.
Holy shit. Wow. Yeah, okay, that's different to me. Whoa.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Oh, you could
So
walk.
you can imagine, like he's charging $70 per job.
Wow.
Maybe 70 plus GST, but it's $70 for a job. And that's, he does 20 to 25 jobs in a day.
Wow. That's insane. Yeah. I mean, I did 2 jobs yesterday and I drove 200 Ks. Like, it's just like, whoa. It's crazy how some people do it. Yeah, that's insane.
I guess the point is that your business versus Chris is vastly different business.
Yeah.
Doing the same thing, but not doing the same thing at all.
Yeah. Everyone's different, but wow, that's crazy.
And I thought I had good route density when I said I'll only travel 10 minutes from home. And he's like, yeah, try 2 minutes.
Wow. Wouldn't even have time for your morning coffee.
Well, he said he starts work at 9 o'clock in the morning and finishes at 3 in the afternoon because they're on the go, 15-minute jobs with 2 people working.
That is incredible. Wow. I've got time for 6 podcasts. I'll read a whole book, travel around Australia, and then I'll make it to the first job by 7.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, everyone's different, but I guess you've got to come back to knowing what you're analysing so that you...
Exactly, yeah.
A lot of people have been asking about which brand of battery tool to buy, and I don't like to recommend one brand of battery for everyone or every situation. Dealer support and access to parts and service all play a big role in that decision. Some brands have better tools for specific needs or each product category. I've been using a variety of brands, and I endeavour to provide unbiased interviews on Aussie Lawnstars with as many of those product brands as possible. I reached out to Ego Power Plus through the podcast because of how Barry supports the industry and Ego owners. Barry has impressed me with his loyalty to customers in providing support and listening to the needs of the industry, which has resulted in a full lineup of new commercial tools landing in Australia over the last 12 months that has positioned Ego as a leader in the commercial tool space for outdoor power equipment. Visit egopowerplus.com.au to see if they have the tools you need today.
Thank you for listening to Aussie Lawnstars. Please remember to rate and review the show on the Apple Podcasts app or the player you use. Exciting new shows are released every Monday. Make sure you follow or subscribe to hear the next episode.